Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Friday, October 10th. Happy Thanksgiving weekend. My gosh, I really enjoy Thanksgiving. Although sometimes it's a little early. I'm glad it's kind of chilly. It's getting chilly out. So I hope you've got lots of Thanksgiving plans, and I hope your weekend goes wonderfully and there's too much pumpkin pie and too much family, etc. Over Christmas, right? People get sick of family and then they go to the bar. It's funny. Anyway, J.K. Rowling is targeted by the Vancouver Park Board, and she responds, and it's hilarious because she's hilarious. And it's quite funny. I've got that for you. And I've actually got the Park Board talking about how terrible J.K. Rowling is to preface it. So that's fun. Canada harmed the peace talks between Hamas and Israel that Donald Trump was trying to coordinate with the Abraham protocols, I can't remember what it's called, the Abraham something. But he's trying to make peace in the Middle East, and Canada is, now that it's done, trying to take credit. And so we'll look at that, which is pretty funny because it has to do with the other big story today, which is the Nobel Prize that Trump is not allowed to win, right? Ireland responds to the EU about hate speech laws, and Trump is not allowed to win the Nobel Peace Prize. So we're going to start there. So lots to get to. Let's get to it first. Anita Anand is taking credit for Trump's win. Dahlia says, Minister Anita Anand and her Palestinian-colored scarf brag about how helpful Canada's been to the peace talks just minutes after I shared Marco Rubio saying Canada has been a hindrance. Someone's been getting her acting chops from Pollywood, Anita. I don't know what Pollywood is. Here is Marco Rubio talking about all of the other places being a hindrance to the peace process. Here's Marco Rubio.
Have you noticed that the talks with Hamas fell apart on the day Macron made the unilateral decision that he's going to recognize a Palestinian state? And then you have other people come forward, other countries say, well, if there's not a ceasefire by September, we're going to recognize a Palestinian state. Well, if I'm Hamas, I basically conclude, let's not do a ceasefire. Right. Because we can be rewarded and we can claim it as a victory. So those messages, while largely symbolic in their minds, actually have made it harder to get peace and harder to achieve a deal with Hamas. They feel emboldened. Have you noticed that the talk?
Yeah. So, and Anita Anand claiming she's got a minute and a half talking about this. The real Mr. Bench says Anita Anand claims she helped get a Middle East peace deal. Marco Rubio says says France and other countries, Starmer, UK, Canada, Carney, hindered the peace talks. I trust Marco Rubio long before I trust Anita Anand. And it's a minute 38, and I just don't want to listen to the nonsense and spin and lies, etc. And there were Nobel Peace Talks and the Abraham Accords. That's what it is, not the protocols. The Abraham Accords. That's what it is. And so Trump, in his first term, put together the Abraham Accords and tried to bring peace to the Middle East, but didn't start any new wars. And then in his second term, he's wrapped up something like 8 conflicts in the last 6 months. And he's called out the UN and said, listen, you guys, what do you do here exactly? I come in here like a wrecking ball and I fix all your stuff that you guys were supposed to fix. And it seems like you guys were just paying for migrants to come into the United States. What's up with that? And so now these people who he's embarrassed by bringing peace to the Middle East, and honestly, that's genuinely what he has done. That's what all the newspapers are saying. Everybody's talking about this. This is a big, big deal. This is a legacy that's far beyond President Trump. This is a big, big deal, right? Peace in the Middle East. How long will it last? We'll see. There are people who are criticizing the deal already because Israel's already broken it. They're firing rockets at civilians, according to things that I've seen. But the same thing happened after the Israel-Iran peace deal. They said, oh, it's never going to hold. And then, here we are, it held, right? So interesting. Although I think they're still trying to make it a thing. But all of this peacemaking, all of this brick by brick and walking into these rooms full of bureaucrats who couldn't do the job that Trump has just done and then calling them out doesn't get you a Nobel Peace Prize? I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked. The Nobel Prize Committee is announcing breaking news. The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize to Maria Corina Machado. Who? I don't know. Okay, sure, sounds good. For her tireless work promoting democratic rights. For the people of Venezuela. What? Okay. And for her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy. What happened to Guido? Right? I thought Guido was the pick of the globalists. Now it's this chick. She gets a peace prize. And how many Middle Easts did she bring peace to? How many conflicts did she stop this year? Election Wizard says Venezuela opposition leader Maria Corina Machado wins the 25 Nobel Peace Prize, not President Trump. Wah, wah, right? So I don't know. Here's President Trump on Obama's Peace Prize. He said he didn't even do anything. He got this award for nothing. He didn't do anything. He's a terrible president.
Wait, that's
doing nothing.
Exactly.
Obama got a prize. He didn't even know what he got. He got elected, and they gave it to Obama for doing absolutely nothing but destroying our country. No, he was not a good president. The worst president was Sleepy Joe Biden, but Obama was not a good president.
Are you going to do something with the
They gave
Hezbollah?
him a prize. How many months after he won the election, then they gave him the Peace Prize, right?
It was right
Before he
afterwards.
was elected.
Are you going to take
My election was a much more important election.
Wait, that's
Trump kills me. This whole 30 seconds is like, yeah, well, Obama's crap. I'm really good. Obama's crap, though. He's crap. Joe Biden's worse, but Obama's crap. Just makes me howl. Lord Thander says, Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. Abraham Accords built Middle East bridges. No new wars in term one, and his Gaza ceasefire hostage deal halts horror's epic peace legacy. Right? Who's that Venezuelan lady again? What did she do? And the peace deal is receiving pushback from Canada's majority Muslim population. I mean, I say that tongue in cheek, but really, here's Leviathan and Samar al-Kudur, a Palestinian refugee living in Montreal who recently brought her entire family despite her hate of Canada. Upon hearing of a signed peace deal, Samar is calling for even more escalation and protesting Canada as long as Israel exists. This is an opinion shared by many Palestinians and protesters like her, meaning the protests won't stop until Israel is eliminated. And we saw this previously. There was when Palestinian statehood was being recognized at the UN level, Macron, Starmer, Carney, there was some concern or some hesitation by Macron, I think, in France. I think it was France that wasn't sure, and they have all sorts of riots, and I reported on it on the show. And this was in response to them hesitating to declare Palestine a state. And I think that Canada would have suffered that same blowback, and I'm interested to see if anything will come of this threat. I don't know. I don't know if this is the majority or if this is just some crazy lady. Might just be some crazy lady, right? Who knows what living in a place like Palestine or Gaza, what kind of outlook that'll give you, and why you would think coming to Canada and protesting is the thing you do. Well, I mean, it's not like we stop it, so we're not exactly deterring this behavior. She's, I think, being encouraged by a whole bunch of people to behave this way. So there you go. Pretty wild stuff. But I find it very interesting, the whole Nobel thing. You can bring peace to the Middle East, but if your name's Donald Trump, you're not getting a Nobel. Pretty wild stuff. Here is the disagreement between the Vancouver Parks Board and Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling. And I think her response to this is absolutely hilarious. So this is why I'm showing you. This is Tom, and Tom, this is actually how crazy things are. If only we knew how bad it really is. This is a park board in Vancouver.
It turns out that the original author of the Harry Potter series, J.K. Rowling, has since 2018 taken very public political positions seeking to limit the rights and opportunities of transgender, gender diverse, and two-spirit people in the UK, in Canada, and other countries. Now, I don't want to platform her ideas and her opinions, so I'm not going to describe her political views here. Let me say that in several cases, her views and her activity has impacted Vancouver and the Lower Mainland directly.
By bringing joy to children in the form of a written universe? What? Yes, that evil J.K. Rowling. Oh, talking about the other thing.
Personally, I believe those harms are clear and unmistakable, as many of you may be aware of.
This I wasn't watching this. I was doing other things, and I came back to this tab, and I actually laughed out loud. Hello, everybody. I'm doing my best girl voice. Anyway, this is the farce that's going on in Vancouver. And J.K. Rowling says, to be honest, I didn't even know the Vancouver Parks and Recreation had avowed me, so the disavowal hasn't been much of a blow. Next time, send me a certificate of avowal. Wait until I've proudly framed it, hung it over my PC, and taken a selfie with it, and then revoke it. That's what you should do. David says, mark my words, J.K. Rowling will never recover from this. And J.K. Rowling says, I wouldn't say never. But with time, therapy, and the support of my family, I anticipate I'll be able to hear the words Vancouver Parks and Recreations without suffering a serious breakdown within 2 to 3 years. It's just funny because the whole thing is so ridiculous. This man, who's a park board guy in Vancouver, is trying to take down J.K. Rowling. And the fact that she's even trolling him is more than he deserves. Let's do our grab bag of governance. We're 10 minutes in. Okay, grab bag of governance. There's a whole bunch of crazy stuff. The 2030 agenda stuff is absolutely nuts. But there's a lot of really wild things going on here. The 2030 agenda is wild because of C2, C8, and C9, and they didn't even get a mention in the preamble. But the government is trying to pass these censorship laws, and they're trying to pass them by Christmas time, basically. And John Carpay thinks that we might be into a police state by Christmas time. I hope not. I hope not. That would be an unfortunate Christmas present. That'll put a damper on my usual Christmas series of shows leading up to Christmas. So the 2030 agenda is alive and well, and they are trying to ram it down our throats. It's very, very concerning. But there's a lot of grab bag of governance to do as well. The food professor says, what I learned from Carney's second meeting with Trump: first, dairy is clearly the main target within supply management, chicken and eggs less so. Second, it has become abundantly clear Trump wanted Carney to win the election to secure the best possible deal for Americans. Right. I don't really care about who Trump wanted to win the election. I want the obvious fact that this was a rigged election to be discussed, because this was a rigged election. And everybody's talking about, oh yeah, Carney won, blah, 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 blah. It was a rigged election. And these people are not legitimate, and they shouldn't be making deals with anybody. And they haven't really done anything other than waste our money for the first 6 months. They've given a ton of money to Ukraine. They've built some bureaucracies. They haven't done anything at all. They haven't unwound any bad bills, any bad policies. In fact, the only thing they're trying to do is censor everybody. And people don't want to talk about that. Also, when Chrystia Freeland was negotiating the USMCA, I was saying what Donald Trump wants is dairy. Open up the dairy thing. And he wants Chrystia Freeland to go away. Make Chrystia Freeland go away, open up dairy, and you'll have a deal. And nobody did that. And now, years later, like I think we're talking 6 years later, because Chrystia Freeland was traveling to negotiate in 2018, 2019, right? Before 2020, USMCA was all through the first Trump presidency being negotiated. And he hated Chrystia Freeland, and Trudeau kept sending her, and he wanted dairy, and he was clear about it. He was clear as day about it. I was talking about it, and I'm some schmo in my garage. Nobody else can see this? Obviously, food professor, right? And again, I don't give a shit. I don't care what Trump wants with regards to Carney or Polyev or anything like that. I think it's so disingenuous to like cotton on to, and I mean, not for the food professor. He's not a political opinion guy or anything like that. But a whole bunch of people talk about how much, Trump is manipulating people, and he wanted Carney, so he got Carney, and now, the Americans are getting a good deal, and so on and so forth. The whole premise of Carney lied every day of the campaign. He had cover from the media. He had cover from all sorts of different institutions, unions, et cetera, elbows up, all of this nonsense. And it was nonsense, and I called it out at the time. And it's just disingenuous to not discuss all of those falsehoods, all of this stuff that's happened, all the lies. I mean, the lies all the way back to COVID. Nothing. It's just water under the bridge. And they say, oh yeah, well, Carney said he was going to be good, and Canadians must have believed him because they elected him, and now he's not good. And oh man, we're so dumb, us Canadians. No, the election was effing well rigged. He knew what he was going to do beforehand. He didn't get parachuted into Canada to lose that election. They had a plan, and they're running the plan. And the plan is basically they're going to bankrupt us. The IMF is going to bail us out. The United Nations is going to take over, and that's how we lose our sovereignty. And I hope I'm wrong, but it looks obvious to me, and nobody's going to have a conversation about our rigged elections in that series of events, because it's a cascading series of events, right? Uh-oh, we ran out of money. Uh-oh, IMF is bailing us out. Uh-oh, can't do anything now. I guess the United Nations is in charge because we screwed things up. You screwed things up, Canada, right? They'll blame somebody. There'll be some scapegoat, but fundamentally our sovereignty will be gone, and the United Nations will administer all of our lands, and we won't have a damn ability to say anything about anything, because they'll just shut us up. And all of the censorship laws they're trying to roll out now, so they will be able to shut us up. So there's big problems with even the way we're talking about how to fix the problem, right? It's not Mark Carney and it's not Pierre Poilievre. Neither one of them is going to fix the problem. The CPC is more committed to their deal with the dairy cartel than with their deal with the people who they are supposed to represent. Bradshaw's sharing this Michael Cooper tweet or X post, and Cooper says, breaking, the Liberals vote against my motion to force Carney to turn over all of the records from his secret backroom meetings in New York and London with global investors tied to Brookfield. My motion passed despite Liberal obstruction. Now we'll learn what Carney tried to hide. So if you have the votes for that, why don't you have the votes to bring down this government? Why don't you have the votes to stop the censorship laws? Why don't you have the votes to hold these things up so they never get passed to see the light? They never see the light of day. Again, I don't see a strategy in this Conservative Party at all. I don't see an overarching strategy of derailing the Carney censorship train. And that is, I said it before, and when they came into office, I was kind of surprised that censorship laws weren't first things passed through. But I think they were seeding the ground. They were building the foundation, and now they're really going hog wild on it. And I hope we're able to get out of this. Juno News is reporting Prime Minister Carney has appointed former colleague Doug Guzman, a longtime Bay Street executive and former Royal Bank of Canada deputy chair, as chief executive officer of the new Defence Investment Agency. The post comes with a salary of up to $679,100 per year. $679,000, more than $500,000 a year. Even just if you took off $500,000, he'd still have a good salary at $179,000 per year. Right? Like, that's a lot of money. Most people don't make that much money. Right? So that's how you pay somebody for supporting you through your prime ministerial run, monetarily or with activity or anything like that, right? There's all sorts of, and it looks like cronyism. Cronyism is giving insiders a plum position or something like that. Like, you guys were buddies, he was your roommate in college and you guys were both working on, politics, and now you're the leader of the party and you can send people to ambassadorships and, you can have Germany. That's a nice one. You can have a new apartment in Washington, D.C. in Millionaires Row, Tom, right? Like, so it's pretty wild stuff. Looks like that. Right? It looks like that. So here's a plum job that you don't really have to do anything. Just listen to us and implement what we tell you. Don't worry, your assistants will do most of it. You just have to be the signature. There you go. And they'll have an auto pen. CBC Watcher is responding to the Toronto Sun. Is Carney ready to surrender Canada's auto industry? Do we want to surrender Canada's auto industry? Probably not. Here's the quote from the article. Then you add in what Trump's Commerce Secretary Lutnick said while appearing at a conference in Toronto on Wednesday, and things become more worrisome. Lutnick's comments were made behind closed doors under Chatham House rules, meaning no one is supposed to discuss them, but clearly several people who were so alarmed that they were willing to break the rules to say what Lutnick was telling the audience. Car assembly is going to be in America, and there's nothing Canada can do about it, a source quoted Lutnick as saying. According to the source, Lutnick also said that Canada will be disappointed with where we will end up compared to where we are now with regards to autos, but that we could benefit elsewhere. Yeah, I'm sure we could benefit elsewhere, or maybe nothing at all. Maybe we'll get nothing at all. Here is Champagne, and people are saying, hey, there are a lot of workers who rely on these jobs. What do you say to them? And Champagne has more word salad nonsense instead of an actual solid answer.
Mr. Lutnick's comments, is the auto sector able to survive without free trade with the U.S.?
Listen, what I can say is that we've been fighting, as you know, for the auto sector, for the workers. It's a great industry in our nation. I see ourselves, when I say that, Canada and the U.S. more as complementary than in real competition, because the fact that we have integrated supply chain, and I would say that goes back for decades, is what really makes our products more innovative, more competitive, and I think that's something which is positive on both sides of the border.
But he's saying the U.S. first now, Canada second. That's Mr. Lutnick's position.
Listen, I heard this comment, but I can say from a Canadian perspective, and I've been spending quite some time with the auto sector, is really when you look at the integrated nature of our production, when you look at the auto parts, when you're looking at aluminum, when you look at the essential things that you need to build the cars of the 21st century. Think about the battery ecosystem, for example. Everything you need to make the cars of today and tomorrow is the fact that we're integrated, and I think this is what makes North America very competitive. This is the economic bloc where we have brought innovation, competitiveness, and I think by that kind of approach that we have had for decades is what has made the cars that we make here in North America.
So it's I just think he's pivoting away from actually actually addressing the question, and he's saying, oh yeah, no, it's really super good, and like it's going to be great, and we're going to fight for them, and the Conservatives don't fight. And it's BS. Like it is not correct. They're selling a product, but it's empty, right? You get the box home and you realize it's just a rock to weight it down. Here is City News reporting the Canadian Union of Postal Workers says they will shift from a nationwide strike to rotating strikes. You need to lock them out, and you need to abolish and end or maybe sell the Canada Post. That's definitely what needs to happen. This is ridiculous. They're wasting billions of dollars and they want to raise. Like the company is not able to be to fund itself. It's not functional. How, in what way would somebody be able to give more money if you don't make any more money, right? We want a 10% raise. Well, our revenues we're in the negative billions. Like, you want to raise? Get real. The company is going to go bankrupt, you lunatics. So I don't know why they're still doing this whole thing. They're going to protest themselves out of a job, I think, personally. And that's like not great for them or for anybody, because they're destroying one of the Canadian institutions. And so that's not great, right? Doug Ford says to the mayors asking the government to continue to allow cash grab speed cameras in Ontario, I've been absolutely clear. The answer is no. And so here's Doug Ford's letter. I'll just read the top little bit. It says, Dear Mayor Brown and Mayor Mead Ward, I'm writing in response to your letter requesting the continued use of municipal speed cameras in Ontario. The answer is no. Our government is banning this municipal cash grab once and for all. In its place, we are installing proven and proactive safety measures that are 100% effective at slowing drivers down, including roundabouts, speed bumps, improved signage, and other traffic calming measures in school zones. The only thing municipal speed cameras are 100% effective at is taking money from hardworking people. Just 37 mayors and municipalities have allowed and encouraged the use of speed cameras over the last several years to explode as they look for new ways to take hard-earned money from people, while 407 mayors and municipalities have put the interests of taxpayers, 407 mayors have put the and municipalities have put the interests of taxpayers first by not putting the cameras in or taking them out. The numbers speak for themselves. So there you go. And he goes on. It's a long letter, but fundamentally the answer is no speed cameras in Ontario. So that's okay. I like that. I don't like the speed cameras because I feel that they are certainly just a cash grab and it is inappropriate. And they were going to put those things everywhere. They were going to get like wide adoption of 40-kilometer-an-hour zones, even having just a single line of cars. I was on an 80-kilometer road last night, Highway 7, and somebody was going 60 kilometers an hour, and the whole line of cars was just following this person. And there was way too many cars for me to pass safely. I couldn't do it. And so I just had to suffer. And we drove all the way between two cities, like between Rockwood and Guelph, 60 kilometers an hour. I was like, the guy behind me was losing it more than I was losing it, but I was like, this is ridiculous. And we have trained people to virtue signal with slow driving, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Intolerable. All right, with that, we're going to end the stream. There's a whole bunch more show. If you want the rest of the show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. But if not, that's okay. We'll catch you tomorrow. And I believe that we're going to have a kitchen table talk on Sunday, usual time, 1 o'clock. I hope so. I'm going to send out the email to confirm it, but that is my plan right now. And I don't think, you know what? We're doing no, we're not. It's Monday we're doing it. So yeah, I've got the time. So hopefully we'll see you on